This is episode 32, or better known as Six Handfuls and Two Middle Fingers. This is A. I am once again here with T. T, how's it be? Oh no, I want to
Well,
ask it this way. I want to say, what's the frequency, T? Some of you will get that and some of you won't, but that's okay. Go
the
back and
uh,
listen.
the frequency is very erratic.
Amen to that.
Like if the frequency were an EKG, it would be all tacky
It's fun. Better than fib, but we'll take tacky. That's doable.
or bracky, right?
You can have tacky bracky. Well, it's actually tacky Brady. You can have tacky Brady.
Oh my goodness. Or you can have Braxton Hicks too. Oh no, wait, that's something completely different.
Bills have to do with muscle contraction.
That is
It's a
true.
different muscle. All right, we're a little punchy today, so maybe we should get on to what we're here for. Sorry for those of you who are listening to us being like, what the hell are these two doing now? That's always the fun, isn't it? You never know what we might do next. We might not
But
even know what we might do next.
we don't. The frequency is a hot mess, eh? How about that? It's just a
We should
hot
just
mess.
do we should do an entire episode or series on the frequency being a hot mess because it could
It's
apply to
every,
so much.
it's everywhere you want to be, and some places you don't.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah. So
Oh
as
goodness.
as we're talking about frequency
Ooh,
and occurrences, we
yes.
have a list of firsts. So I take
Milestones.
it we are going to be taking a trip down memory lane yet again.
I mean, that's kind of what we do, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But as I was reading this, I was like, this really sounds like a kind of like a slumber party, kind of like almost truth or dare kind of
I guess it
thing.
does. I guess it does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's basically all about firsts. And I got the idea from a magazine article. I don't remember which article
Well,
anymore. I just
well,
remember looking at it.
well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You
Uh-oh.
read a magazine article. You went, oh, here's an idea for our podcast. And then you actually outlined an episode from
I did.
said, you're learning.
I'm trying. Are we going to
Oh,
celebrate? This is a
maybe,
first.
maybe this is a
Maybe this is the
first.
first we should celebrate. So magazine is a charitable term, of course, because this is an online thing. There's no paper, right? So it's not an actual magazine that you open and flip anymore. Do those still exist? I guess I don't pay attention because I don't get them, but you can buy actual
Oh,
magazines still?
yeah. You can, like if you go like to Barnes and Noble, you can still
Do those
find
still
some.
exist?
Yeah. There's like
Okay.
one in all of Omaha. Because remember,
Where's it
like
at?
Oakview.
It down by Oakview?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Um, but man, magazines are so expensive now. You, I mean, they're almost like the cost of a book. I bought
Oh
a couple
wow.
magazines, oh, I don't know, a year and a half ago, just for a little something different to read.
Hmm.
And I was prepping for a colonoscopy. So
Yeah, why not?
it's like, oh my God, I'm not paying $12 for a monthly periodical. Like I'm just not.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, but no, I'm proud of you because usually I'm the one who's coming across articles and headlines and adding them to our running list or sending them your way. So I am very proud of you um, going out and finding something that relates and just carrying it through the whole process. Good
Gonna
job.
keep trying. Thank you.
Good job. Quite a
So that was our
first.
first. What other firsts can we come up with? You mentioned slumber parties. So
Yes,
one of the firsts I listed in this list here was first sleepover, which would be the same thing basically, right? A slumber party,
right.
kind of.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how this works. Is it different for guys and girls? Like,
Well, I mean, I guess I think of you can use the terms interchangeably, but I think like a sleepover could even be used for anytime like you're not sleeping at your own house. It's like you could have a sleepover at your grandparents, whereas a slumber party is more, and I really do think of it more of like a girl thing. And it was usually like in celebration of something. But looking back, I think I used slumber party more often, but it
mhm.
actually kind of covered all of those things because the idea was that you were going somewhere else to sleep and you were going to have fun.
Yeah.
So the very first time I remember like not sleeping at home and having fun, like sleeping over at somebody else's house and having fun was when I think I was 7. Yeah, I was 7. And we had a very bad snowstorm around Christmas. And everybody but one of my aunts ended up staying at my grandparents' house. And so that was fun because I was 7. 2 of my cousins were also 7. My brother and another cousin were 5. And then I had 3 cousins who were 4. And there's actually pictures of us just laying stretched out on, the parents just laid out like 3 full-size blankets.
Hmm.
And so like there's like 9, 8 or 9 little pillows with all our little heads um poking out and under the blankets. So that was actually that was fun because I actually had it was Christmas and all that excitement. And then we all stayed at Grandpa and Grandma's house because it's so cute. One of the photos, my cousin V, who is 2 years younger than I am, were just laying there and we're sleeping, but we're like facing each other. And
Hmm.
it's cute. It's it's adorable. So that I remember being kind of like the first time um, staying away from home and having a situation like that. And then also, probably soon after that, um, my 2 cousins and I, who were the same age, we had a couple like slumber parties, once at my grandparents' house and once at one of my the house of one of my cousins before one cousin of mine she went to Germany with her family. So 7 seems to be kind of like the first year where that was happening. And I was probably yeah, that was I was probably about that age or maybe 8 the first time I slept over at a friend's house and like had that first kind of slumber party experience.
I think we called them slumber parties. Um, I think the first time I can recall sleeping at a friend's house with a group, right, was
Mhm.
probably a birthday party in second or third grade.
Yeah.
One of my friends, his mom took all of us to, I think we actually talked about this before, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. She
Oh,
took us
yeah.
to the movie and then back to their place out on the farm and obviously pizza and that kind of stuff. And it was his birthday, so we got to all spend the night and then she took us all home the next day. That's the first one I remember. Um, I don't remember having a lot of them, but I do remember that. Like it was the first time a group of us like were all together. If you want to call them sleepovers, when I was in Boy Scouts, we would go camping as a troop and we would all sleep in one big tent and that kind of stuff. So that would have also been sleepover-ish, I guess.
No, I would categorize that as something else. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I think by the time I was 11, 12, and, again, with like a group of us girls, 6, 7, 8 girls, like throughout the summer, every weekend we were sleeping somewhere else.
Sure.
It was
Yep. Makes
just,
sense.
yeah. So, yeah, but it was fun. I had a lot of sleepovers and slumber parties. Did I ever tell you this was not my first slumber party, but it was a first? I made a Ouija board one time.
I did not know.
I did.
You made
I
a Ouija
made
board?
I made a Ouija board.
Okay.
It's easy to do.
It was the first time you contacted the dead? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Or just the first time you made a board?
That was the first time. Actually, there's a couple firsts. That was the first time I ever made a board, and the first time I ever attempted to contact the dead.
Did you succeed?
I think so.
Okay, so it was also the first time you contacted the dead.
Yeah.
Why
So,
not?
yeah, I was okay, 12 or 13,
Hmm.
and one of my friends, she had like this huge slumber party, and I was over at her house. Like, I was one of the first ones to show up. And I was like, what would be really cool? We should like make a Ouija board. And she's like, all right. So I took some paper and you just write down the alphabet,
Hmm.
numbers, and then yes and no. And then I cut them out. And then we cleared off a coffee table down in the family rec room in the basement
Yeah.
and laid everything all out. And then we used an old ashtray as a planchette.
Oh,
Yeah.
that works.
It did work. Yeah. It's
Nice.
let's see, that was what, 35 years ago now. I still haven't been forgiven for introducing everybody to the wonders of a Ouija board.
In 90.
See, this is what happens, people, when you let your children be raised by TV. Because I got the idea from watching Amityville 3D, and I went, I could try that. I'm going to try that. So I did, and no, it was not good. I have never played with a board since. As a matter of fact, one time, I think I was already in college, my brother brought one home, and I walked in the door and I saw that witch board sitting there. I left the house. I called home. I said, "You need to get that board out of the house before I
Okay.
can go back and sleep." So he had to put it out in the garage. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I forgot about your Ouija board phobia." Yeah, because it was not good. We had, I don't know if it was all like, you know, young teen girl energy or what, but the movement of the ashtray that we were using as a planchette, it flew across the room a few times, and it was pretty wild. So
Not doing it again.
I'm not doing it again. No.
Okay.
So um yeah, and then I was afraid I was going to go to hell. So that was actually the first time I thought I might actually go to hell.
Really?
Yeah, because
Okay.
my family was very, very Catholic, and I was 13, and I
And you thought
I thought I thought this
You
is
thought you
it.
were
This
gonna
is
go to hell.
this was gonna tip the scales because I remember talking to my was it still CCD or was it CYO at that time? And she was awesome teacher, like because I was really afraid. And she was, I mean, God bless her. She was just like, "Are you gonna do it again?" And I go, "No." And she goes, "Because it scared you, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, God knows that you were curious. And as long as you don't do it again, you won't go to hell. But if you keep trying to to actively contact the dead,
Then maybe
then
you will.
then maybe you will." So yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, sleepovers sound like they were fun. How about concerts? When was your first concert? What was your first concert? Well, what
You
and
know,
when?
I'm
We're gonna go
trying
right
to
past the Ouija board stuff because that's a whole different thing. We have a whole different series on that later, so we'll do that later. He needs a minute.
I um I mean, really, the Ouija board experience, it ranks right up there with my belief about how TVs work. You know, it's there's a lot of magical thinking going on in this brain. With the concert, I was honestly, I was trying to think because you're talking like for the first concert, you're talking about like your first like big, real going to an arena type concert, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that would have been Hootie and the Blowfish.
Wow. When was that?
No, 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 96.
So after high school.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this will probably depress you, but also not necessarily shock you. So I have been to one concert in my entire life, and I was in high school. It was a youth conference, and it was still CYO at the time. This is before we left the Catholic Church. Um, and we all had to go to Fargo for a youth conference, and they had Amy Grant come to the arena, which was the Fargo Dome, right? So it wasn't like some tiny little high school gym or something. It was actually a concert at an arena. Um, so we went to that because we had to. And my ears hurt so bad, my head hurt so bad, I basically have avoided them ever since. So I have not been to another concert since. And now you may go ahead and shed tears or laugh or she needs a moment, folks. She should have known this, but anyway, I have not been to a concert since. I don't think.
Wow. You you
I
are
don't
so
think.
lame. And I
I know.
haven't
I don't I
gone
don't I don't remember one, but maybe.
I haven't gone to but maybe 1/10 of the concerts that I've wanted to go to, either because of money or work or combo.
Yeah.
No, I saw Hootie and the Blowfish. We saw Smash Mouth. That was in college. You didn't go see Smash Mouth?
I don't remember it.
And who was playing before that? Imagine Dragons?
Where was
No.
that at?
At
Was that on
our
campus?
university. No, it was off campus, but it was sponsored by the university. Um, no, it wasn't Imagine Dragons. It was, oh, it'll come back to me. I've seen Bob Dylan
Hmm.
6 or 7 times. I've seen Mavis Staples twice. I've seen Mumford and Sons, Elvis Costello, Mark Knopfler. Um, who else? That may be it because I haven't gone to nearly enough concerts.
Yeah,
There
like once I
is,
was in school, it was school and work, and I
yeah,
was just happy if I could afford my freaking groceries most of the time. So I didn't, I was out of the dorms by the Christmas of my sophomore year and in an apartment with some other people. I just didn't, like it was money was always a thing at that point, and at some point I just got to like I was like, well,
Oh,
whatever. So,
if you end up going to San Diego, we can go to Coachella.
okay. It's outside, so it may not be as noisy. I don't do
Oh,
noisy.
that reminds me. I went to another concert outside and I saw like 6 or 7 bands who were just starting out and then they ended up being really big and I don't remember who they are. Cause there was a there I had a contact high as I
I'm
so often
yes,
have at every
yes.
concert. Um so I don't remember. And that was a huge outdoor festival. So yeah, there's a couple other concerts kind of lurking around um in there, but I haven't gone to nearly as many as I've wanted to. There's nothing, no, I shouldn't say nothing. There are a few things better than the energy you feel right before a concert, like right before the gates open. It's amazing.
Good. To me, it sounds horrible. I'll be real honest. Like, too many people having to park out there, walk to the thing, like, it's just a bunch of crap. I don't want anything to do with it. I am definitely the lame one of this group because it does not sound fun to me at all. At all. Like, I would rather spend my money and go to somewhere with a beach or maybe to another continent or something like that. But like I've never really had any desire to go to any of it. So I just haven't. That's just me. And after 35 years or 30 years, I'm surprised you'd be shocked, but you're not. You're just it's okay if you're not shocked but also slightly surprised. Anyway,
Have
how
you,
about your first
have,
date? When was your first date?
before I answer that, have you at least played with a Ouija board?
I have not.
Oh, Lord.
Not so much
Okay.
because I don't want to, but because I honestly, here's the thing. I've actually never seen one other than on a shelf, right? I've seen them in the board game section or whatever. But I don't have the magical thinking gene that you have. I know how my TV works. I don't believe that the Ouija board works in any way, shape, or form. Like, I don't believe you can contact the dead. So, this idea that it sounds like fun to play with has always just been like, why the hell would I bother? So, maybe I'm too analytical. I don't know, but it's never been, and this has never appealed to me. Plus, I've never met anybody that had one.
You
Like,
need more interesting friends.
you are one of my best friends. So, what does that say? You can't
You
carry the
need
burden yourself. Is that what you're saying?
exactly. You need
Okay.
more of me. You need more of people like me who have done some very, like weird experimental shit and
That's
because
fair.
yeah, now I'm starting to
I'm
think maybe
almost
I'm
48 though, so I'm not really sure it might be too late for me, but anyway, first date. When
now
was your first date?
my first date was I was a freshman in high school. So right around my 15th birthday, and it was for homecoming. And I had the
1991.
cutest dress. Yeah, 1991. And I had the cutest little dress. It was polka dot and it was a mini dress. And I was so teeny tiny. I weighed like 110 pounds. I was so cute. And I was blonde at the time. And my first date was with a very nice young man who his mother and my mother worked together. We kind of grew up together and he used to annoy me a lot when I was a kid. And then, we got to like even junior high, he still annoyed me. But then beginning high school, it was like, I asked my mom, I said, do you think it'd be okay if I asked that annoying little boy who used to tease me about my dolls out on a date for homecoming? And she's like, yeah, that's all right. So I asked him and we went out on a date and yeah, so that's it. Um, we married other people and
Not surprising.
never went on a date again. Um,
That's okay.
and I think he might be a grandpa now. And I don't,
Okay.
yeah, it happens.
It sure does.
It happens. So,
It
but
sure
no, it
does.
was it was nice and it was I mean, it actually thinking back, like it's cute because like I said, our moms worked together, had known each other for years. My mom worked with his older sister. And then to make things even, small townish, when I started dating my T, he and my first date's older brother went to school together. So they all knew each other. So, and that's when I realized maybe it's okay for me to marry someone within the local swimming pool, gene pool. But if I procreate, we're definitely going to have to go somewhere else because this is we're getting way too familiar with all each other here. can't, can't, the county is too small.
That's what I know. I know how that goes. How about your first drink?
I was too young. I don't remember that. I mean, I
You
remember
don't remember your
sipping.
first drink?
Yeah, okay. Well, you want I remember my dad giving me sips of his beer when I was like three or
Yes,
four.
I kind of remember my uncles doing that too. My first
So,
actual drink where I was like I grabbed one myself and old enough to have it would have probably been honestly it was probably the night of our high school graduation. One of my friends had a party and she had stuff out there on the farm and the rule was very simple. Um if you drank, you left your keys with her mom, right? Like that was her mom's rule or whatever. And I had one, and that was it. And then later that weekend, we all met at one of my friends' lake cabins, or one of my classmates' lake cabins, and we drank like crazy out there. So that would have been the first time I did that, I guess. Would have been May of 1995. Almost 30 years. What?
wow. Wow. Either like I was an early bloomer or
I was a
you
late
were
bloomer.
you were a late bloomer.
I was late bloomer. Yeah.
Because by that time I could drink any number of people under the table.
Yeah. I was
And
fortunate. I inherited whatever gene my dad has because I could still even though I had really never drank before, I could
mm,
drink a lot, and it did not seem to affect me. And I don't really know what the deal was, but they were all. I remember my classmates were just kind of surprised, like I could keep going, and some of them couldn't, and they had way more practice than I did. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like this is, it's. I think it's genetic. I don't understand. But that was the first time. It was definitely the last time because then I realized I kind of enjoyed it and we just kept finding ways to do it. But as far as dates go, I guess I didn't answer the question myself.
no, you
My
didn't.
first date was I think it was freshman year also. Technically we weren't supposed to date till we were 16. That was the rule in our house. And there was this girl at church that everybody thought was like, 'cause she was very long blonde hair, and I don't know cup sizes, but she had the biggest chest of anybody ever. So like everybody really liked her, but I kind of liked her, so we schemed in the behind, like kind of schemed in the background, and got my cousin to take me and pick her up and take us to a movie or something because I couldn't drive yet and she couldn't drive yet. I was older than she was, but um yeah. We weren't supposed to. And then my brother tattled on us and I got grounded. So I tried, but that was it. That was the last date I went on until I was in college. It was the only date I went on until I was in college. What? What's that look for? I mean, this is why we should just let people see the entire video of us, even though the background is so bad in my where I like I'm everything's a mess. But the look on T's face right now tells its own story and could be its own episode, and I'm not even sure what to do with it. But anyway, do you want to comment, or should we just move on to the next one? I'm going to
feel
erase
like
one of them just to save us some time.
I feel like
What's wrong?
a I feel like such a drunk concert going Ouija board playing slut who never
Why?
slept at home.
Okay, let's get real
Oh,
here. I mean, I grew up with extremely religious parents, and it was a very different thing. The majority of my classmates would have been in the same exact category as you. So when it comes to who was normal and who was not normal, you're not the abnormal one in this situation. It's just that that was my situation is that I could not do those things. So
I
I didn't
mean,
feel that option.
I'm trying not to judge you, but as you were talking
It's
about like your
okay.
first drink and the level of detail, I honestly do not remember like the first time I accepted a drink or like poured myself a drink like that first time because I don't remember ever like not having like a sip of alcohol or some alcohol. Like, I don't remember how young I was, like at my grandparents' house, like at Christmas. Like, I remember pouring myself like half a glass of wine at 9, 10 years old.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't remember like that first beer, that first, um, I remember the first vodka because I got drunk and hungover. Um, so that was the first time I got drunk, first hangover, first time I had vodka. Um, but yeah, so now I'm like, that
just
really isn't
remember,
very cool.
I grew up in sort of the equivalent of Jesus camp, right? So like there's
That's true.
that's just yeah, the people that I met when I got to college all had the same basically the same sort of experience you did because they had normal childhoods. I probably did not specifically, and that's how that is. So, anyway, how about the next one? When was the first time you traveled without your parents? Like actually went somewhere far away, not to visit the penitentiaries with the class with your class, but like
Well,
somewhere else.
okay. And I don't know if this counts because this was with my high school band, but sophomore year, our band played in the Cherry Blossom Festival parade in Washington, D.C. But
Yeah,
that
I
was
think that
with my
counts.
high school band. And
Hmm.
then, like, that summer was so that was like March or April. And then that summer's like July, August. I went with the my CYO group to see the Pope in Denver. That was all
I remember when you
1993.
said
But my brother was with me that time. But he wasn't no, he wasn't in high school, so he missed that band trip, but he did go with me to see the Pope.
okay.
Yeah.
I the first time I remember going anywhere specific without my family or my parents was as a junior. I flew to Texas to stay with my cousins and look at schools. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's the first time I was far enough away. I was on a is my first time on an airplane. Um, to go anywhere, and I had to do it all by myself. So that was the first one I remember. So yeah, I was
My
sure I was 17, 16 or 17.
yeah, my flight to DC was my first time on a plane too. I mean, I had
Nice.
been on a small little private, like
Yeah.
two-seater one time
Yeah.
before, but that was my first commercial flight. It's amazing how some
Nice.
of these firsts just kind of run together.
They sure do.
Yeah,
Which
like
is not
groups of three or four.
I mean it's sort of surprising, but it probably shouldn't be, right? Like you're getting to experience something new, so there's always going to be more new with the new, right? Like it's kind of how it goes.
Okay, so how about this? Your first kiss.
That's the one I deleted to save us time. It would have been
Yeah,
21. That's all I remember. I was 21. I
you were.
was in college.
Oh, wow.
Well, come on, let's get real. When I was in high school, like it wasn't really. I mean, the date I went on was a beard, right? Like that was its whole purpose. I wasn't coming out, so that's it was.
She was your beard, but yet you mentioned her breast size. Like I want to
Made
know,
her a good beard.
like do
That
do
made her a
so
good beard.
so is it like the bigger the boobies, the better the beard?
Well, I mean, when you're that age, guys, straight guys, are all about the boobies, right? Like that's
Oh
reality. So,
yeah,
like,
yeah, that's true.
if you're trying to, uh, you know, not draw attention, then you do that. So, she's gonna need another minute. Sorry, guys.
God, I'm so
Um,
sorry.
but yeah,
Um,
I mean, in
I
my yeah, so like my first date that would have not been with a beard would have been in 1998 probably, and that also probably would have been my first kiss. So
okay, just so everybody knows, like, T has never been a beard. I've been a fag hag. I've been a fairy queen,
fruit fly.
but I've never
We
been a
used to call
beard.
them fruit flies. Don't know why.
I've been, I've been that too. But because our mutual friend S calls me the fairy queen. Um, I've been
I mean, but here's the thing:
never
when I
been a
met you, you
beard,
were
so I don't
married
know the
already.
rules.
Right? When
Yeah.
I met you, you were married already, so you were not beard material because that would not have made any sense because you were already married.
Okay,
So,
but
sure could have been a
just
fruit fly, you sure could have been a fag hag, whatever you want to call it. What did you call it? Fairy queen? That's fine, but you didn't have the ability at the time to be a beard when I met you because you were married. So that would not have been a story that would have made sense. Deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. We can get through this, I promise.
so sorry.
Here, everybody go ahead and take 10. We'll be back.
There were rules.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if there are rules, but like logic would dictate if you're already married, you're not gonna I can't convince anybody you're my girlfriend, so that would not have mattered. But when I was teaching, this will sound kind of sad, right? I was already out, but when I started teaching, like I kind of was not right where I was teaching. Like I was out in
Right.
college, but I was not necessarily out where I was teaching. And so I had two or three really good girlfriends that would go with me to school events as just I'm like part of it was just because I needed somebody to go with me and I didn't want to go by myself and it was these were my friends so they would always go with me but they would also say well the kids are going to think we're dating and I was like yep that's exactly what they're going to think
But and that's what
so
we want.
that's fine we don't mind if you don't mind I don't mind and none of them ever minded like it was fine none of them were married so that was easy to do but yeah no it there are pretty simple rules, I suppose, but anybody, I suppose, can be a fruit fly or a fairy queen or whatever.
So,
So,
so you're telling me that I have like the most basic designation in in the LGBT community, like because anybody can be a fairy queen, but I did not meet the criteria for beard.
no, you don't. One, do you really want to be a beard?
Well, I
Probably
mean,
not.
it'd be something fun to do, like making Ouija boards and shit. It's
That's
like
totally fine. Yeah. You could also like get divorced, I suppose, and then decide that you want to like hop into a lavender marriage. That might be kind of fun. You could then be a beard. I mean, also maybe it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, like most of the time, the people that the beard is meant to impress are people you don't see very often. So it
Yeah,
may not
that's
also
true.
like how they would have ever known you were married to somebody else is like almost impossible back then. Now today it may be different because people are all over the internet, right? Posting on Instagram and
Right.
wherever else. But back when we were in college, like nobody would have known you were married, so you probably could have easily been a beard. It just didn't occur to me because at the time I really didn't need one. I wasn't looking for a beard, so but I did have one sort of in high school, so or tried anyway.
Wow.
Well, that was fun. All right.
That
How
was fun. Oh
about
my gosh.
your first job, first paycheck? My first job, I was 16. Um my friend Dee and I got a job. Both of us got jobs as nursing assistants at the nursing home because she wanted to be a nurse and I wanted to go to med school. So the guidance counselor was like, "This will look really good on your applications or whatever,
Hmm.
right? Like this having this experience. Plus, believe it or not, it paid more, right? Being a nursing assistant at the nursing home paid almost $5 an hour back then, which was
Hmm.
more than you would make if you worked in the grocery store or at the little gas station or whatever.
Hmm.
So we had friends who worked at the grocery store who started when they were 14 or 15. The nursing home in North Dakota at the time, you had to be 16 to go get your certified nursing assistant training or whatever. So we both got jobs that summer. We were 16, 1993 and went for almost 6 weeks. We had to drive to a town about an hour to maybe 20 minutes away or something to do training. That was my first job. I thought it was a big deal that $4.90 or $4.95 an hour back then. That was a lot of money, it felt like, but yeah, that was my first job. I mean, unless you count mowing yards as a job, but I guess I don't really think of that as a job. That was just like stuff you did as a kid to make money before you could actually get a paycheck.
Mine was, I was 14, so 1991,
Hmm.
and dishwasher
Yeah,
and bus boy or bus girl, busser.
there you go. Is that
Yeah.
about the same time you got your first bank account?
Yes.
Yep, me too. When I got a job, we opened a checking account. I'd had a savings account. Do you remember those little savings account passbooks or whatever?
Oh
Did you have one
yeah.
of those?
Yeah.
Haven't seen one of those in ages, but like I remember my grandma always had hers and grandpa always they always would write in them in
Mhm.
pencil or whatever. So I thought we had one of those from really young age. I think the grandparents put a little bit of money in a savings account for us to kind of because back then there was actual interest. I mean, like today
Mhm.
you get like a penny a year on interest or whatever. But back then we got a little bit more, so we had that. But my first one that I could open myself was when I got my job at the nursing home. Knew I was going to get a paycheck. They said I could have
Mhm.
a checking account, so that would have been my first.
Yeah, that was my first too.
Nice. First car. When'd you get your first car?
14.
Yep.
No, 15.
Shortly after we got our
15.
licenses, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think because I was still working at the restaurant. Probably right around the time I was 15, and it was a 1980 Mazda 626.
Mine was it was 1992 or 3. I don't remember what year we got it. I think it was 1993 because I think I got it. I just got my license. I had just gotten the job, and then my aunt was trying to sell her car. So that was an easy arrangement. They were basically like, we settled on a price, and they just said I could pay as much as I could each month. There wasn't like I had to pay them, $250 a month or anything. I just could pay them what I could until it got paid off, so there was not a rush or anything.
Mhm.
I still did whatever I could to pay that sucker off within a year because I just didn't want to have to keep thinking about it.
Mhm.
But it was a 1987 Pontiac Sunbird, and the odometer did
Oh,
not work. It would go forwards and then it would go backwards. So when I junked that car, because I drove it into the ground, when I junked that car, it had less miles on it than it did when I bought it.
oh,
At least
sweet.
according to the odometer. Yeah.
You know what? You forgot to ask me when my first kiss was.
Oh,
Because,
when was your
like,
first kiss?
well, like you, I did not have a first kiss on my first date because
Hmm.
apparently I scared the hell out of him. So he did not kiss me.
It's not a beard. Fair.
I
You
scared,
scared
I
the
think
hell out of him.
I scared the hell out of him. I think I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted a
That might
kiss.
explain why you also didn't have a second date then, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I was all ready to put out and scared him
It
off.
didn't matter.
It,
That's too bad.
yeah. So, yeah, but my first kiss was with my tea. He was my very first kiss.
Was he your also first actual date after the other guy? Like the homecoming one?
Um, he, well, hold on a second. Oh, this gets complicated because we kept our relationship hidden for quite a while. So, how about maybe? Because I did have
So
one
we
other date with one other person at some point
okay.
in there. Yeah, but I don't remember the timeline.
That's all right. It's been a while.
It's been a while,
Ah,
and I, I I was doing lots of things simultaneously for a while there. So
okay. You were juggling a little bit. So
just
you
trying
really
to,
would have actually made a very good beard.
yeah.
It's too
Well, I
bad.
mean, my first date, he didn't need a beard. He's straight.
Hmm.
I think I just scared him. I think I came on too strong. He's like,
Fair.
oh my God, the little girl who I used to tease about her dolls she's a bit of a hussy. I need to get out of my car because I think she might be a tramp. Uh,
Whatever. It works, right?
yeah, whatever.
It was a good time. We learned, we grew. So we did first
Yeah,
car. I put first move on this list. I don't know why. Like it was just one of the things that popped into my head. My first move really was just moving to college.
yeah. Well, okay, no, because we did move when my parents divorced. We moved from southern Kansas to northern Kansas. Does that count?
Sure.
Yeah, and I do kind of remember it. So,
After that, would it be your move to college?
no, that was like when I was 4 when my
No, but I
parents got
mean like
divorced.
you had that move when you were 4, but like when was the next time you moved? Was that college? Or did you move again somewhere in there?
Well, I mean, we moved locally, like to a couple of different houses in town. But then
Sure.
after that, like my big move was to college.
Yeah, that's
So,
fair.
yeah.
Nice. Any
Yeah.
other firsts you want to mention before we go? I can't think of any of my
No.
own, but
No. I mean, I feel like I've shared more than enough today.
that's fair. That's fair. Well, for those of you listening, throw some of your firsts in. And again, like maybe they're very different, right? If you live in different parts of the country or you live in a city versus a tiny town, right? Like maybe your first concert was much different than anything we might have experienced because you would have had them available to you, and we really didn't. Like it was a big
Yeah.
deal for us to go to a concert if we were going to go to one. Like you had to save for it, you had to plan for it, you had to go far away for it. You might have to get a hotel room. People that live in big cities can probably just go to the concert and go home. So that might be a different experience. Jobs might be different in cities. Any number of these things might be different if you grew up in a city or maybe another part of the country. So we'd love to hear about your firsts. Otherwise, as we always say, we're free. So like and subscribe, share with your friends, get them to like and subscribe, remind them that we're free. And, T, anything else before we
Oh,
go?
if anybody has learned anything from this episode or from this podcast, they already know that I pretty much am free. So,
Oh, dear. Also, this is not something that we probably had on our list, but this is our first podcast. So it might also be our last podcast, but it's our first podcast. So, as if anybody paying attention wasn't probably painfully aware of that at this point in the process, this is episode Six Handfuls and Two Middle Fingers. But we've never done one of these until we started something to complain about. So,
no, that is
there you go.
true. That is true.
Awesome.
This is our first podcast on our first shared YouTube channel. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all right. Hit us up in the comments, like and subscribe, tell everybody we're free, all that good fun stuff. And join us again next week for something to complain about. I'm in. T is
And
still
I'm
with us. She's
T.
still laughing. And that's it. We'll see y'all later.
Bye, everybody.